Okay, so 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Well, how's everyone doing today? This is Bob Gums, and we are the Concerned Forum. I hope everyone will be enjoying this 4th of July weekend. Now, we are taping on the 1st. This is Friday, the 1st of July. So, as you can imagine, a lot of the places around here are basically closed or people are getting ready to head out for the 4th of July weekend. Now, my question, since we're talking about 4th of July, in light of everything that we have found out these last 7 days, Supreme Court, the former president wanted to lead an armed mob into the Capitol building of the United States to kill his vice president and to more than likely kill / maim a bunch of senators and Congress people from both parties now. Republicans would not have been safe. Well, we know now that Trump was in favor of having his vice president assassinated, killed, hung from an improvised gallows that we've all seen. Now, this is real. This is not Black Lives Matter or Antifa or the Black Panthers, old or new. Who else? The Democratic Party, Bernie Sanders mob. None of that. Okay? None of that. It was Donald Trump and his followers. And as I sit here and I think about what I have just said to you, it really freaks me out. This is the ultimate freak out. We had a president that wanted to lead a mob into the capital of the United States and kill people. Now, mind you, a bunch of people were killed either that day or in the following days. I know you had some law enforcement people committed suicide. Some attempted to commit suicide. Others were successful and, did commit suicide. And it's like, no big deal. Hey, man, it just happened. No big deal. And see, that is what freaks me out and freaks out the rest of the civilized world. We, the United States of America, had a president who attempted to lead an armed mob down the street a little ways to the Capitol building to stop a valid election, an election called valid by his own people. Now, what do you think of that? Huh? Because I'm going to tell you, if you are not freaked out, if you are not angered, if you are not upset, then you're in the wrong country. Okay? And then, of course, the follow-up, you have a Supreme Court that essentially feels that they can tear up the laws that they don't like. Well, I don't like that gay marriage stuff, so, let's tear it up. And I don't like these women going out here having abortions. So let's tear this up. Uh, and they have one lady, conservative lady. Now this woman, I mean, I understand she's deep into what she believes is her Catholicism, and I applaud her for that. However, I think that her calling should have perhaps been a nun. And see, that's another thing that's so interesting because most of these people on the Supreme Court, uh, they would not pass the test to be a priest or a nun, according to the way the Holy Father, the Pope, the way that he sees things now. Because he feels that, yeah, he doesn't, he makes no bones about it. Pope Francis does not believe in abortion. But by the same token, he also understands that there's a lot more to it than that. See? Because he says if you claim to love life so much, well, there's a whole lot that goes along with that. There's the feeding, there's the care, there's the environment. A whole lot of things go into having babies, see? And Francis simply says, listen, if you're going to be against abortion because you feel that somehow it trespasses across a commitment to human life, well, he said, hey, and Pelosi did bring up a good point. These people who support the death penalty and who are Roman Catholic. And Pelosi threw out a good challenge to the Catholic Church here in America. And that is that if you believe in the sanctity of life, that's all life. It's not just that little zygote or whatever, okay? It's about people. It's about humanity. And Pope Francis basically saying, well, listen, don't tell me that you believe in the sanctity of life, but your people can't afford health care. There's no national health care in this country. So how much can you really be about human life? And see, that's another thing that we're talking about. When does life begin? There's no clear-cut answer to that question. And I think any scientist will tell you that, right? And see, this is why I say this whole abortion thing is nothing, it's a scam. That's all it is. It is a scam. It is a scam to cover up two things. Number one, that you want to control women. Okay, that's the first thing. And second of all, you feel, for some odd reason, you feel, I don't know, afraid because in America, you are not producing a whole bunch of white males. You haven't been doing that for the last 25, 30 years. So a lot of these conservatives, they feel the best thing to do is to strap white women down and force them to have babies. And see, that's another thing. Clarence is up there, Clarence Thomas, he's up there spouting all this garbage about, yeah, well, we want the states to be able to control people's lives. Well, what happens, because in some of these states, they're going to come off with the end of intermarriage. What the hell does that have to do with the sanctity of life? Not a damn thing. But see, that's what this whole thing is about. And the question, and this is what the next two elections are going to turn on. Are white women going to allow themselves, their friends, and their daughters to be turned into brood mares for the state of Mississippi, for the state of Alabama, for the state of Oklahoma, possibly for the state of Florida? Those, what is it, about 17 different states, right? Might be more. But they want to control the amount of white male babies coming into the country. In other words, they want white women at home. And see, that's why people have to realize this is not just about women and, their determination as to whether they want to have children or not. It ain't just about them. It's not just about gay rights. But it comes right down to who you are as a human being, because it goes right through the idea of privacy. And they're saying, well, if a man and a woman decide that they want to use contraception, see, now you're crossing into my side of the fence. And I am not going to sit around and take that garbage. I don't think anyone should. And see, therein lies the problem. Now, I honestly believe a place like Texas, and let me tell you a little something about Texas. Texas, they have one of the worst maternal death rates in the world, out of any industrialized country, right? Texas has just about the worst. I gotta look those figures up again, but Texas is like 1 or 2 in terms of let's say in Western nations. So we're taking Europe, Canada, America. Texas is the worst place for a woman to have a baby in. You know why? Because they die. Because women in this country get lousy prenatal care. And because of that, that's why the ladies have so many problems. So my question, who in the hell or what in the hell gives a place like Texas with politicians and, elected office holders like Louis Gohmert, okay? I mean, this guy, he's like a hateful, ignorant Gomer Pyle. And he sits in Congress. And this guy is one of the main factors in terms of the, anti-choice movement. Who in the hell is Louis to tell a woman, yeah, you gotta have that baby. I don't care if it's your uncle's kid. I don't care if it's your father's kid. You must have that, you must allow that little zygote, that little fetus, well, from zygote to fetus, you gotta let him run or she run the whole 9 yards. Think about that. I believe that what women's organizations need to do, God help us all, they need to start preparing for lawsuits against places like Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, basically saying that if a woman dies because of the fact that she was unable to get an abortion, that state should be held responsible. Just like tubular pregnancy, okay? Um, when something goes wrong, the egg winds up outside the tube or in the tube. I forgot exactly how that works. My late wife explained that to me because I believe her mom, my late mother-in-law, she had two of those. And most of the time, if it's, they catch it in time, the doctors can give them, what do they call it? A DNC, if I'm not mistaken. In other words, a clean out. They clean all, if you're thinking in terms of like the old Chevy, they got to get in there into the engine and just clean it out, right? That in itself is an abortion because any cells hanging around there, they're going to be flushed out also. But it's good for the health and life and safety of the woman. But if you're living in a state where that's not allowed, the woman will die. It's just that simple. So what women should do, they should say, okay, that being the case, every time that happens, baby, it's on you. Now, of course, you're going to have people like Louis Gomer, well, it's really not the business of the states to, well, listen, man, you're the one that took away this woman's right to manage her health care between herself and, her doctor. You took that away from her. So don't you think it's only fair, since you, the state of Texas, for example, you took it from her. You took away her right to live. So if you're going to take away that right, then, and she dies because of what you did, you need to be held liable. I thought that that's what American law/justice was all about. Accountability, responsibility. So why shouldn't that be the case? You stop this person from getting the necessary health care that could prolong her life, save her life. You denied her the opportunity to live. So common sense tells you, common sense dictates, hey, pal, since you're the one that caused her to lose her life, well, it wasn't the state's fault. Well, originally, it wasn't. The state did not get her pregnant. However, when she wanted to basically prolong her life, keep herself safe, because of the laws that you passed, she was unable to do that. The doctor was standing around terrified because he didn't know what the hell to do. If I perform my duty as a doctor, the state of Texas might try and execute me. So what do you expect? Well, I mean, what do you think is going to happen? The lady dies because she couldn't get the necessary maintenance to take care of her internal organs, and she passes, she passes away. Well, who the hell else is responsible? Now, Louis, you might not like the idea of Texas, the legislature being held responsible for what you caused. You might not like it. You might not like having to kick over maybe $30-40 million on a wrongful death suit, but you brought it upon yourself. So I say, whatever harm comes to a woman because of these ridiculous ass laws that these right-wingers in these state legislatures in conjunction with their right-wing buddies on the Supreme Court, whatever happens because of all that, the state should be held accountable. Because we have really done a good job bringing down, at least in the blue states, we have done a good job in terms of keeping women alive through, through their pregnancy, what have you. But in the southern states and in the red states, it's an entirely different story. Because these red states, let's just call them red to make it simple, because of their laws, they have made the job of keeping women safe, oh God, much harder. And now, well, yeah, we can stop them from getting abortions because the Supreme Court says so. Well, that's another story, number one, okay? However, and talking about these circumstances, yeah, the state is responsible. The state will be responsible for all of the very bad health things that happen because of the fact that this woman was not able to get the health care and the health procedures that she needed. And number one, it makes us look like a bunch of damn maniacs. That's the first thing. The second thing, oh God, it's almost so damn difficult to believe and to speak on in 2022. This puts us on the level of the witch doctor. As a matter of fact, I know some witch doctors that will tell the Supreme Court that they are way behind the times. And see, these are the things that we have to start doing. They smacked us around pretty good with those Supreme Court decisions. So now what we have to do, we have to get back on our game. And I'm going to tell you something. I think that some of these states find themselves being sued in like wrongful death things, wrongful death suits. Believe me, those right wingers in these state legislatures, they will get the message. They start getting hit with $5 and I don't know what for a human life, what, 20 million, 30 million? They start getting hit with a few of those. They will come to the table to try to seek some kind of compromise. And see, that's another thing. And believe me, I'm not trying to express any sympathy for him. What's his name? Roberts, the Chief Judge of the Supreme Court. But I know that is something that, he would like. He would like to go to the table and try and reach some type of compromise. And I think, pardon me, it always gets stuffy up here after they close the door. But anyway, I understand that he would like to find some kind of half-intelligent compromise, but he let his right-wing colleagues take this thing way out of proportion. And I'm curious because you claim to be conservative. How can you, what is so conservative about saying that you won't even talk about, we're against abortions. However, when we're talking about the life of the woman, well, yeah, of course we're going to back off on that. They didn't even they don't even want to do that, and that just doesn't go just for the Supreme Court. All these right wing legislators, right? I want to ask them, if that was your daughter laying on that table, what would you do? What would you say? In the first place, hopefully, she would have better sense than to come and ask you your opinion after what we've seen what you have done, right? But if for some reason she decided to ask you your opinion, what would you tell her? No, dear, just go ahead, lay there and die. Would you tell her that? Is that what you would tell her? Huh? I'm curious. Is that what you would tell her, Congressman? Come on, Louis, tell the truth. You would just tell your little girl, your baby, oh, well, I know, dear, that it's now a situation whereas if you don't get the abortion, then you'll probably die. But I'm okay with that. I would love for Louis Gohmert to tell me to my face that he would rather play nursemaid to a zygote than see his daughter alive, right? Or here's another one for you. Louis, suppose me and my buddies are just being ignorant, right? We're drunk, took a whole bunch of pills, we're just out wilding, as they say. And somehow, right, maybe your daughter's in college, and maybe we're Zooming through her campus. And one of us happens to see her. We don't know whose kid she is, but they say, hey, that's a nice looking, what's she, about 20? 21? And one of the boys says, yeah, let's get her. And the next thing she knows, she's been swept off her feet and she's in the back seat of my Oldsmobile. And we rape her. And a few weeks after the rape, she finds herself to be pregnant. I'm curious, Congressman Louis, what would you say? What would you tell her? Oh, and here's a real hot one for you. The rape was carried out by a black guy, an Hispanic, and an Asian. What would you say then? Now, I know the first thing a conservative person will say in rebuttal, oh, well, it really doesn't make a difference, the color of the rapist. Yeah, right. Right. You're a South Texas congressman. Come on, man. And you're telling me it don't make a difference? Oh, okay, well, whatever. But I'm just supposing. What would you tell your daughter she should do? Keep the baby? So the whole world, all the people in your world, we're not talking about the normal people on the planet. We're just talking about your friends and associates and relatives. That kid will be a reminder that your daughter got raped by a black and an Hispanic. I'm curious, would you be so hyped up on keeping that zygote in her stomach? I'm serious. Why don't you, see, that's one of the things that we need to start doing. Democrats, progressives, we need to stop being so goddamn gentle. And I'm sorry about the blasphemy, but it really gets me angry. We need to start doing like the Republicans do in certain circumstances. We need to kind of go back to the 60s. Remember when everybody was saying, tell it like it is? That's what we need to start doing. Now, the Republicans have been doing that for quite a while. And, most of what they say is pure BS. As Trump's hand-picked attorney general said, it's all a bunch of BS. But see, I do marvel at the way that they were able to bring their fellow believers together. I understand it's hard for Democrats because, especially when you're talking about working Americans, it's difficult because Democrats, generally speaking, in America, are free thinking. In other words, they use their own minds. It's like somebody said, trying to run a Democratic Party is like trying to herd cats. And of course it is, because you're talking about people. They have a better education in most cases, or they're better read than most working class Republicans are nowadays. And so I understand that it can be difficult. But what you need to do to overcome that kind of thing, you need to just be honest with people, and you need to give it to them straight. I'll give you an example. Barack Obama. Great guy, nice man, right? But he had a very bad habit. And that habit, well, just to pick one, he is not an institution builder. See, FDR was an institution builder. He built an institution. He built the party in such a way so that after he was gone, the party would still be able to take care of itself. Barack didn't do that, right? Barack did not do that. That's why, you heard all through the time he was in the White House. And what did you hear? Democrats in the House, Democrats in the Senate, most of them, well, we try to reach out to the president. I'm talking about Democrats now. I'm not talking about Congress as a whole. I'm talking about just elected Democratic office holders sitting up in Congress, right? They had the devil's own time trying to reach out and talk. As a matter of fact, Obama himself made comments about the situation. Well, they think I can do anything because I'm president, and that's not the case. Well, we know that. We knew that, Barack. But you have something that none of us had. You had the bully pulpit. You're the guy that can, go to all the networks and say, hey, listen, I got something important to say. So you shut down every damn thing else. This is a matter of national importance. And, that just wasn't Barack. That's why I laugh when I used to hear about Republicans, the radical Obama radical? What radical? This guy had the chance to really smack down the bank/corporate lobbying groups. He had a chance to make banking to nationalize it so that it would be responsible to the entire country. He had a chance to do all that, and he didn't. All he made sure was that money was funneled to the banks. But in terms of punishment or, listen, guys, you are going to have to change your ways. If you want X amount of dollars, you're going to have to change, just like, was it Santana? You got to change your evil ways. Barack didn't do that. The same thing, all during the 08, 09, the terrible economic, because the whole West was hit with that, okay? Everybody. But I give you an example. Iceland, they had what we would consider typical, in the stock market and the banks. They called a guy, I think he was a bank president, they called him screwing up. You know what happened to him? His butt went to jail. Can you tell me one of those corporate moguls or banking moguls, name one that went to jail? I can't. Maybe you can. And see, that's the damn problem. That's the problem with Democrats. Because it's like they have a hard time defending themselves. And I call, just like I live in the Bronx, okay? I'm in the guy, what's his name? Torres. I'm in his district. And I'm always calling his office trying to get a response, really to check and see if there's any signs of life. So far, I have been unsuccessful. But that's Democrats, right? And just talking about the guy that represents me, his district is right next to AOC. Oh, how I wish I was in her district. And I guess after this, he'll probably be saying the same thing. But I'm sorry. It's like Democrats, they don't get it. They really don't get it. I mean, this kid, gentleman Torres, right? Nice young man, sharp dresser, good looking, right? Well spoken for a New Yorker, all right? But see, therein lies the problem. We are in a fight for our lives in this country. Yes, progressive people, Democrats, people of color, women of all colors, right? LGBT community, we are fighting for our lives. Working class, white guys, problem with them is a lot of them don't realize it yet. It's just now starting to sink in with some of them. But we are in a fight for our lives. We don't need looking pretty, okay? I mean, look, I know, okay? I got one of them faces. It's a face for radio, all right? I mean, I dig that, okay? I can never compare, for example, with Torres, okay? I'm just, and plus I'm overweight right now. But damn it, I know how to fight. And that's what we're going to need, at least, especially for the next 4 years. We're going to need fighters. You look at the Republican side of the fence. Look at their base. This ain't no joke. And as far as I'm concerned, you claim to be a politician, you claim to be an office holder, ever been in a race riot? I say again, have you ever been in a race riot? Have you almost been lynched? Literally. Fighting to keep a rope from around your neck. Well, in my case, in my particular case, I would have to say yes, yes, and yes. Yeah, remember, I went into service when I was 17, okay? So, no, I'm not I mean, I realize I might look as old as Methuselah, okay? But consequently, I'm not that old, really. I just started earlier than most folks. But yeah, I was almost lynched. And this was in the Army, okay? Which is why, one of the main reasons why, when I decided to go back into the service, I didn't go to the Army. I went in the Navy. Actually, I was going for the Marine Corps, but the recruiter was never there because, you know, him and her were having their first child. But that's another story. But yeah, the military was very brutal and tough in 71, 72, right? Up until about maybe 75, about maybe 76. We realized that we were going to lose in Nam, right? Too much stuff that had been kept hidden, right, was starting to come out. And people really felt that they had been getting the shaft. So it was just a mess. And remember, when I went in, Dr. MLK, God bless him, he had only been in the ground about, what, 3.5, 4 years? King was assassinated in 68. And I remember we had that riot in Harlem when we got the word that King had been massacred, been slaved. And like I said, that was in 68. And I think I was like about maybe 13, because I was just starting high school. And hell, in the Navy and Marine Corps, they were burning ships tied up to the pier. Naval vessels, aircraft carriers, destroyers, and they were burning. They were setting them on fire because you had so much anger and discontent. So it was rough. But getting to the point, a lot of these folks in Congress who are supposed to be Democrats, a lot of them don't get it because they can't understand it because they weren't there. Or they were so young that they weren't really following, what was happening in the country, politically and socially. And that's why I say this is not the time for people who just want to, flash a charming smile and, constantly just present their good looks and nothing else. And see, the Democrats, those elected Democrats, they have to understand something. It is upon them, and folks, I'm a registered, proud Democrat. I guess nowadays I would say I am a very super strong progressive Democrat, okay? Get that out of the way. But what Democrats have to understand is that this is not 1980, what was it? I'm trying to remember the last time I remember Joe Biden running for president, because I was stationed at the White House at that time. I was with signed the DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency. And I can't remember if Kelly and I were married yet, but at that time we were, living together. And he had a rally, a campaign rally, and Kelly and I went, and we, yeah, Joe, cheered him and everything like that. And this was somewhere between, I'm in here in 86, somewhere between 86, 88. I think it was one of those times when Jesse Jackson was also running. And, I used to bump into Jesse all the time. Jesse, Joe Biden, what was his name, Dick Gephardt. And this is not that time. And that's something that I think Biden has a hard time grasping. Now, I saw something today before I came down here, and I hope it's not true. I hope that it's been exaggerated and twisted out of its original content. But I heard that I guess by the time you see this, um, you already have found out for yourselves that he made some kind of deal with McConnell, something he wants to do in the Senate, and I guess he figured that it would be better to make a deal with McConnell it's like a judge seat, like a federal district judge or something of that nature. Either being a judge or being the attorney, like a federal district attorney. I forgot what area. Was it in Kentucky? Anyway, what made a lot of Democrats angry was, why in the hell are you striking a deal with McConnell anyway? And see, this is the problem that progressives have with the Pelosi's and the Bidens and folks along that line. It's like they don't understand, or they don't want to understand. This Republican Party is not the Republican Party that you grew up with. And the first time that you got elected back in 1970, whatever, all right, these ain't the same dudes. And I don't understand why they can't get that through their heads. And another problem with the Republican Party, they are not running their party. They let Trump in. Trump has basically taken over the damn Republican Party. And the guy on the street, right? The base, that who is running the Republican Party for the most part. You got a case of the tail wagging the dog. And a lot of times, Pelosi and Biden, they seem to forget that. And of course, you're talking about two people. Nobody has ever tried to lynch them until the 6th of January. Now, Joe wasn't in town. Pelosi was there. And I would hope that she would be, more open to what the progressives have to say. Because if those law enforcement officers had not manned their post, and that's male and female officers, if they had not stood up to that mob, that lynch mob, because essentially that's what it was. That's what Trump wanted. He wanted a damn lynch mob, and he got it. And if it wasn't for those law enforcement people, if you think it looked bad to you on the 6th of January, believe me, if he had somehow managed to talk his Secret Service handlers into letting him go down to the Capitol, oh my God, you would have seen the first vice president of the United States to be lynched. It would have been a bloodbath. It would have been a shootout at the OK Corral. You listen to the radio chatter in these January 6 hearings. Hey, we got a guy in the tree with what appears to be an M16. Another guy walking down the path with an AR-15. We see people with, bulletproof vests and all this other stuff. This wasn't a joke. This was something that had been planned for some time before January 6th. And if Trump had managed to con or talk his Secret Service detail into letting him head down to that Capitol, I tell you right now, Pence would be dead. Seriously, Pence would be dead. Pelosi would be dead. And see, the ironic thing is, a lot of Republicans would have died. They would have died next to the people they're supposed to be so much against, their Democratic colleagues. Because a mob does not sit down and say, well, let's think about this for a minute, okay? That's why it's called a freaking mob. And see, what Biden and Pelosi, what these people need to understand, along with the rest of the Democrats, is that you have to really sit down and think about who you are dealing with, okay? Like I said, this is not 86 or 87 or 88, okay? It's a whole new ball game. Okay, you're talking about people, poor boys, oath keepers. You're talking about people that have no idea about politics. They have no idea about Robert's Rules of Order. In case you're not familiar with that, Robert's Rules of Order, they're basically, it's a model how you run a meeting, okay? How you can conduct a meeting without everything just, deteriorating into a wild argument or what have you. That's essentially what Robert's Rules are about, to basically conduct meetings so you can get things accomplished in a competent, intelligent manner. That's basically what it's all about. Well, Mr. Chairman, blah, 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 I would like to speak. There's a reason for that. Sometimes it might seem kind of boring, but there's a reason for that. So that you can conduct necessary business without things deteriorating and into a civil war every time you try to sit down and discuss particular subjects and what you want to, and what you want to do with them. But moms are not into Robert's Rules, okay? And see, this is what some people call them corporate Democrats. Some people want to call them, the big wheels. It's not about that right now, okay? Hopefully someday our country will get back on track. But right now, when you have people, never mind them trying to steal elections through the polls. I'm not even talking about that right now. We're talking about people, for example, with this hearing, right? Trump has people calling witnesses and potential witnesses saying, hey, remember, Donald's watching you. He loves you, he loves you for your loyalty. Now, if that happened with a gangster here in New York, whoever did that, they'd be in jail so fast, their shirt and pants would be still hanging up in the closet, okay? Because as we would say, the G would have them in a cell so quick they wouldn't even have time to get dressed. And see, that's another person that I'm very concerned about. And he should be the main one because he was robbed from his Supreme Court seat. And I'm talking about the Attorney General. our President Attorney General. And see, this is the problem. This is the main problem with the Democratic Party. They continue to look like they're afraid to fight. And I'm going to tell you something. You want to get black men out to the polls voting for you? You want to get Hispanic men to the polls voting for you? Act like you have a pair of something down there and stop acting like a little 3-year-old girl in a nursery school. And Tommy just purposely spilled some Kool-Aid on your brand new shoes that Mom got for you. That's how you get your base in line. Because then they know that you are willing to go out there and fight for them. And I'm going to tell you something. Aside from AOC and a few other people, I have not seen that many Democrats, or I should say, I have not heard that many elected Democrats in Congress that stands up and says, yeah, we are ready to fight for you. And see, that is the main problem with the Democratic Party right now. And that has to stop. Because, like it or not, the Democratic Party is the only thing that is keeping our democracy running. Because the Republicans have proven that in their own way, they're even more cowardly than the Democratic honchos. You know, like Pelosi, Joe Biden. Republicans are more scared of their base than Democrats could ever be, right? And see, therein lies the problem. Because if you allow Democrats, the White House, both houses of Congress, all you are going to have pure anarchy. You're going to have blood on the streets because just like when Trump came in, right, you had this explosion of racial attacks and ethnic attacks, right, both verbal and physical. Hell, the damn FBI, read their stats, what they have to say about what's been going on over the last several years in this country and the rise in hate. So the Democratic Party, they have to finally realize that they have a responsibility to all Americans to stand up and fight. This thing with the Supreme Court, we can take that. We can take them because no one branch of government can lord it over another branch. Now, I tell people, because see, this is also for you folks out there. All these folks out there that talk about, oh, I don't get involved in politics. That's why I don't even bother to vote. Well, guess what? That's one of the things that contributed to you not being able, if you're a woman, you have helped contribute to your own enslavement. If you are a man and you want to make sure your wife has the proper, birth control and what have you, well, you're also responsible because you think, perfect example, remember 2016? I know, I was on the bus. I was on that Democratic bus going down to Philly to help with Hillary's campaign. And I told them, I warned those folks, all the people that, this person has an in with the local, Democratic Party organization and what have you. And I told those folks, we are going to lose. The 2016, I told them, we are going to lose. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened because we didn't reach out enough. Number one. Number two, you cannot think that waiting 2 weeks before an election or 2 months before an election, you cannot believe that that will make you a serious candidate. It just won't. People nowadays, they want to be reassured. They want to know who you are. And they want to know, can I depend upon you to fight for me? That's what it's all about. Because let's get real. The average person in America, unfortunately, does not have a college degree. Okay? They're not that well read, unfortunately. And remember, the Republicans, all they've been doing for the last decade or so, doing everything they can. Excuse me. Yeah, hi. This is Bob Gums. I'm making a tape right now. If you could call me back in about 10 minutes, I'd greatly appreciate it. But that's what that's something that we have to acknowledge. Everyone walking around does not have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree or a PhD. Those of us who do have it, right, we need to start basically looking out for the other folks. And that is a problem with the Democratic Party. Every month, election year or not an election year, in every district, Democrats should be holding forums, okay, classes, if you wish, to explain to folks what's going on, what's happening, and what are we, the Democratic Party, what are we doing about it? Now, this thing right now, and let me say this because we're going to have to close down here in a few minutes because I'm running out of time, but just as an example, this business about the economy and the Republicans trying to hang it around Biden's neck. We should have been out, this is what, now we're in July. We should have been out there in January, even before that, informing people, yeah, gas has gone up, but there's a lot of factors in that. Go to, Western Europe, for example. You think our gas is high? Go try and get your tank filled in Italy or in Belgium or the Netherlands. These are worldwide problems. Okay, number one. Number two, we're at war, whether we wish to acknowledge that or not. We are at war. And the whole global economy is going to feel that. But in the meantime, don't take away my right to determine my health care and what I feel I need to do with the help of my doctor for and or to my body. And see, these are the type of things that Democrats need to go out, hit the hustings, from rural areas to big cities. We need to go out and let people know our message, and we should not wait until the election year to do that. Because people don't like that. They don't appreciate that. Oh, the only time I see your face is when it's come close to election time. And that is what hurt the Democratic Party. When the Republicans are down on Main Street, right, trying to get up their little Nazi groups, okay? Because that's what they are. Democrats should be down from Main Street, right, with our group, basically preaching reality to people. And that's what we're supposed to be doing at least once a month. And it doesn't really cost all that much. It really doesn't. The stuff that I'm talking about doesn't really cost zillions of dollars. but it shows people that you have respect for them. It's like the Republican Party. The big, the big honchos in the Republican Party, you really think they give a damn about working class white guys? Are you for real? Of course they don't. But they have learned how to at least, excuse me, give that impression. And no place in this country should a Republican be allowed to talk about a good program that is actually helping people and then claim the credit for it. Because you know damn well the Republicans voted against everything that would help working class people. But if we allow them to get away with it and don't raise a loud noise, well, of course, what do you expect? If you walk around thinking, and it's something, I know I had it when I played ball in school, and I'm sure a lot of you guys, especially you males out there in my generation, you have the same thing. You had a coach that told you, if you're going to be a winner, you cannot act like a loser. And that's what the Democratic Party, that's what we have been doing for far too long. Yes, I think Obama was a good president, but he could have been better. He could have left institutions behind. Yes, I think that Nancy Pelosi is a good speaker for the House, but she could be a hell of a lot better. And she could leave good institutions, solid institutions behind, and not just on Capitol Hill, but in communities across this country, because that's what we need to do. And I think that Joe Biden is a great guy. I've spoken to him. I used to speak to him all the time on that Metro's train that goes all the way up to Delaware just about. He's a cool dude. He really is. But he keeps going around. Every time he goes in the right direction, then he'll make a very bad turn to 1986. And I understand. That's his life. The Senate was his life. It was his heart. That's a part of him. But some things you just have to let go. It's just like I lost my wife, I lost my son. And it was real hard. I mean, real hard. But there comes a point where you just gotta, it might even take a few years. I know it took me a long time. And I'm not out of it yet, but I can function. Because there comes a point in time where you have to let even some good memories, you have to let it go. And he has to understand his buddies on the other side of the aisle, maybe they are the same guys deep inside, but it just ain't about you, Joe. It's about all of us. You can't deal with McConnell like you all used to do back in the early, 80s and what have you. They're different people now. Unfortunately, they feel that they have to be. But for whatever reason, it ain't the same, Joe. It's not the same. And you have to start acting like that, man. That's why people keep asking, is he going to run? The Joe Biden of 2020 and that election, yeah, he can run. But people in the Democratic Party and the base, they don't like what they see now. And you can't blame them. And Joe, you have to understand that. And I would say that to you, and I would say that to the brother from South Carolina that is the head of the DNC right now. Don't tell me just go and vote. I will do that because I know the alternative. Okay? I've been in the belly of the beast. But the average person living their life, just tell them to go vote, that's not enough. That's not enough. You have to be out there. You have to take the time to break things down, explain it to them. And I understand you're the president of the United States. You have a lot on your plate. So what you need to do, you need to get certain people. Even if you got okay, well, I want this person to do talking for me in this area, and I want her to talk for me in her area. And that's how we can do it. We can take these guys, Joe. We can take them. As we used to say on the block, these guys ain't nothing. Because all they have is fear. And they get people all riled up and worked up. And they pump them full of lies. Come on, we've seen this movie before. It's called Germany, 1933. Right? And that's what the brains of this outfit, of this Republican outfit, that's what he's using. That's what he's using. He's using the same damn playbook. And we can beat them. Yes, we can. But we have to stop acting like losers, damn it. Nancy, Joe, Attorney General, I can't think of his name right off the top of my head, right? But we can beat these guys. We can take them. But we have to show up to the fight, and we have to come in there knowing that, yeah, we have to be ready to fight. You know, all this talk about, well, you know, this is an off-year election. Screw that. Screw that. Look at the damn issues. Look where the mass majority of the American people are. You plant your flag on that, and you go forward. And if you start doing that, you're going to win. It's just that simple. Because if you keep acting like a loser, you will be a loser. Come on, man, we're winners. Remember, Democratic policy saved the world when it needed to be saved. And it can save this country at a time when we desperately need saving. Folks, I hope that you all had a good 4th of July holiday. We'll be back next week, same time, same place, same channel. And this is the Concern Forum, and I'm Bob Gumbs. Bless you all and take care of each other. Bye.